All right, we're diving into some pretty intriguing chapters from Genesis this time around.
Yeah, Genesis 10 through 15.
We're going to be looking at the origins of nations,
Mm.
that captivating Tower of Babel story,
Oh, yeah.
and the very beginning of God's covenant with Abram.
It's really remarkable how these chapters,
Yeah.
they seem so diverse on the surface, but
Yeah.
they're actually weaving together
Yeah.
the spread of humanity,
Okay.
this human yearning for unity, and
Yeah.
then the profound call to individual faith.
Okay, so let's unpack this, starting with Genesis 10.
Okay.
Now, on the surface, it looks like a massive family tree,
Right.
tracing nations back to Noah's sons.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more to it than just genealogy, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a powerful declaration
Yeah.
of the interconnectedness of all humanity.
Right.
We see the entire world's nations
Yeah.
emerging from this one family.
Right.
Each develops its own distinct identity and culture,
Uh-huh.
yet they all stem from a common source. It really makes you think.
Yeah.
Considering your own ancestry,
Yeah.
how does this idea of a shared origin
Right.
shift your perspective on nationality and ethnicity?
It's a great question to consider.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then we move into Genesis 11 with the Tower of Babel.
Mm-hmm.
It paints this picture of humanity united by a single language,
Right.
driven by this ambitious goal to build a tower reaching the heavens.
Yeah.
We all know how that ends.
We do.
But what's the deeper message here?
The Tower of Babel isn't simply
Right.
a failed construction project.
Okay.
It's a cautionary tale about the perils of pride
Uh-huh.
and the consequences of striving for godlike status without acknowledging God.
So it's ambition that seeks to bypass or even replace the divine.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not ambition itself that's inherently bad,
Right.
but rather ambition that's misdirected.
That's right.
Does that make you think of any modern-day Towers of Babel?
It certainly does.
Yeah, what comes to mind?
Think about the ways we try to create our own utopias,
Okay.
our own versions of perfection,
Yeah.
without considering the bigger picture. It could be technological advancements that isolate us,
Right.
echo chambers on social media that reinforce our biases,
Interesting.
or even political ideologies that divide us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that we can avoid building our own metaphorical Towers of Babel in today's world?
That's something for us all to ponder.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, in Genesis 12, we shift gears dramatically
Yeah.
to the very personal story of Abram.
Okay.
God calls him to leave everything familiar, his home, his family, his comfort zone, and embark on a journey to a new land,
Wow.
a land that God promises to give him.
Yeah.
It's a bold command, isn't it?
Abram's journey
Yeah.
represents the beginning of God's covenant with his people.
Okay.
And it all hinges on Abram's willingness to trust
Yeah.
in a promise
Right.
that seems impossible at that moment. He's stepping out in faith, not knowing exactly where he's going
Right.
or what the future holds.
Have you ever felt that tension
Oh, absolutely.
between God's call on your life
Yeah.
and your own fears and uncertainties?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all face moments where we have to choose to trust,
Right.
even when we don't have all the answers.
Right. You don't have the full picture yet,
You don't.
but you're trusting that God's got you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Abram's story provides incredible encouragement in those moments.
It does.
He teaches us that faith is not about the absence of doubt,
Okay.
but about choosing to trust God's character and his promises,
Right.
even when we don't fully understand.
And that trust is tested in Genesis 13.
It is.
Conflict arises between Abram and his nephew,
Yeah.
Lot,
Yeah.
highlighting the tension that can exist even within families.
What's striking is how Abram handles the situation.
Yeah. How so?
He could have asserted his authority, demanded his rights.
Right.
Instead, he chooses peace over possessions.
Okay.
He allows Lot to choose the land he wants.
He's like, hey, you go first.
Yeah, demonstrating remarkable generosity
Yeah.
and a willingness to prioritize relationships over material gain.
It's a countercultural move, isn't it?
It is.
In a world that so often prioritizes winning at all costs,
Mm-hmm.
Abram's choice challenges us to consider
Yeah.
how we can be peacemakers.
Exactly. Abram's example prompts us to ask ourselves,
Right.
are we willing to make sacrifices for the
Yeah.
sake of harmony?
Yeah.
Are we willing to let go of our perceived rights in order to build bridges
Right.
and foster unity?
Then in Genesis 14, we see Abram's courage
Yes.
as he rescues Lot from captivity.
Mhm.
It's an exciting story.
It is.
But what stands out to me is Abram's response after the victory.
Yeah. Instead of basking in the glory of his triumph,
Right.
Abram acknowledges God's role in his success.
He does.
He gives a tenth of everything to Melchizedek,
Wow.
the priest of God Most High,
Okay.
demonstrating gratitude and recognizing the source of his blessings.
It's a powerful reminder that even when we achieve great things,
Yeah.
it's vital to maintain a spirit of humility
Mm.
and acknowledge that our abilities and resources ultimately come from God.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's a challenge for us to cultivate gratitude,
Right.
recognizing that our successes are not solely due to our own efforts.
Right. It's not all you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging a higher power at work in our lives.
So we've journeyed from this sweeping account of the origins of nations to the deeply personal story of Abram's faith
Yeah,
and his encounters with conflict and victory.
that's right.
And all of it points to this overarching theme
Yeah,
of God's involvement in human history, wouldn't you say?
absolutely.
Yeah.
These chapters lay a foundation for understanding God's interaction with humanity.
Yeah.
It's a foundation built on the interconnectedness of all people,
Uh-huh.
the dangers of pride,
Yeah.
the significance of faith,
Yeah.
the importance of peacemaking,
Mm.
and the profound need for gratitude.
Those are good things
Yeah,
to build a foundation on for sure.
absolutely.
Genesis 15 takes us to a pretty pivotal moment.
He does.
The formal covenant between God and Abram.
Right.
God promises Abram descendants as numerous as the stars.
It's a promise
With
that
a lot of descendants.
it stretches the limits of human comprehension,
Yeah.
especially given that Abram and Sarai are advanced in years and still childless.
It's like, come on, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We see this tension between
Yeah.
the vastness of God's promise
Mhm.
and the very real constraints of human experience play out in this chapter.
It's like the story invites us to stand alongside Abram
Right.
and wrestle with the enormity of what God is saying.
Mm-hmm.
And Abram does struggle,
He does.
doesn't he?
He
He
does.
voices his doubts,
Yeah.
which makes the story all the more relatable.
It does.
Big.
That's what makes this chapter so profound.
Yeah.
Abram's faith isn't portrayed as perfect
Yeah.
or unwavering.
He's human.
He has moments of doubt and questioning,
Yeah, like all of us.
just like any of us.
Yeah.
But even in the midst of that uncertainty,
Uh-huh.
God reaffirms his promise.
It's almost like God is saying,
Yeah.
I understand your doubts, Abram, but trust me on this.
Yeah.
My ways are not your ways.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And what's truly remarkable is that
Yeah.
even with those doubts,
Uh,
Abram's faith is counted as righteousness.
Hmm.
This is a key concept in understanding our relationship with God.
okay.
It's not about having perfect faith or
Right.
never questioning.
Right.
It's about choosing to trust God's character and his promises,
Even when we don't fully understand,
even when we don't have all the answers.
it's a powerful reminder that faith isn't about blind belief
It's not.
or suppressing our doubts.
No.
It's about engaging with those doubts honestly
Mhm.
and choosing to trust God in the midst of them.
Precisely. It's important to note that the concept of covenant is central to this story.
Okay.
In the ancient world, a covenant
Right.
was more than just a contract.
Yeah.
It was a binding agreement
Right.
that established a deep, lasting relationship.
So it's a really big deal.
It is.
Right.
When God makes a covenant with Abram,
Yeah.
he's not just making a promise.
Right.
He's initiating
Yeah.
a profound, unbreakable bond.
It adds another layer of depth to this story.
Right.
You know, God isn't just handing down a set of rules or expectations.
Mm-hmm.
He's inviting Abram into a relationship,
Exactly.
a partnership,
Mm-hmm.
a shared story that will unfold over generations.
And that's a story that continues to unfold today.
Wow.
The covenant God made with Abram extends to all who believe,
Okay.
offering us the same assurance
Yeah.
of his presence, his faithfulness, and his unwavering love.
This idea of a covenant being more than a contract,
Yeah.
it makes me think about my own commitments, whether in relationships or even in my walk with God.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about fulfilling obligations.
Right.
It's about cultivating a deep, abiding connection
Yeah.
built on trust and mutual love.
That's beautiful insight.
Thank you.
Now, if we step back
Yeah.
and look at Genesis 10 through 15 as a whole,
Okay.
what are some of the key takeaways you see?
It feels like we've gone on this incredible journey,
Yeah.
starting with this expansive view of humanity's origins,
Mm-hmm.
and then zooming in to the very personal story of
Vision.
Abram and his covenant with God.
Yeah.
We've encountered themes of unity, pride, faith, peacemaking,
Uh-huh.
gratitude,
Yeah.
all these threads woven together to create this
Yeah.
rich tapestry of human experience
And
or God's interaction with us.
you've captured it beautifully.
Oh, thanks.
These chapters offer us profound insights into who we are,
Yeah.
where we come from,
Mm.
and how we relate to God.
Right.
They invite us to see ourselves as part of a larger human family, to be wary of the dangers of pride,
Right.
to prioritize peace and reconciliation,
Yeah.
and to embrace a life of faith even when the path ahead is uncertain.
Yeah, because it's not always going to be clear.
It's not,
Yeah.
but we can trust him.
Right.
Yeah.
And all of this is rooted in the truth
Yes.
that God is actively involved in our world
Mm-hmm.
and in our individual lives.
Right.
He's not a distant observer.
He's not.
He's a loving, covenant-keeping God
He is.
who desires to walk with us every step of the way.
Exactly.
That's encouraging.
These stories aren't just ancient history.
Right.
They're living words that continue to speak to us today,
Yeah.
offering guidance, encouragement, and a glimpse into the very heart of God.
You know, it's fascinating how these stories from Genesis, written thousands of years ago, still resonate so deeply with us today.
Yeah, they're not just stories,
Right.
They're foundational narratives
Hmm.
that have shaped Western civilization's understanding of identity, purpose, and morality.
Like the idea of all humanity originating from one family.
Right.
It's a powerful concept that challenges us to look beyond those superficial differences and recognize our shared humanity.
It has profound implications for how we view and treat each other.
Yeah.
If we truly believe that we all come from the same source,
Yeah.
it changes the way we approach issues of race, ethnicity, and nationality.
And then the Tower of Babel story
Oh, yeah.
serves as this timeless warning
It does.
about the dangers of unchecked ambition
Mm-hmm.
and the human tendency toward pride.
Oh, yeah.
It feels especially relevant in today's world.
Absolutely. The story of Babel resonates throughout history.
Yeah.
We see it in the rise and fall of empires, the
Mhm.
clash of ideologies,
Yeah.
and the constant striving for power and recognition.
But then we encounter Abram,
Right.
who stands in such stark contrast to the builders of Babel.
Yeah, he's called to leave everything familiar
Right.
and journey into the unknown, trusting in God's promises even when they seem impossible.
Abram's journey embodies the essence of faith.
It does.
It's not about having all the answers or demanding certainty.
Yep.
It's about taking that step of trust, even when we can't see the whole picture.
And it's through Abram's lineage
Yeah.
that we see this beautiful concept of a covenant relationship with God unfold. A relationship built on trust, obedience, and the promise of blessing.
And this covenant's not just some legal document.
It's a testament to God's faithfulness
Okay.
and his unwavering commitment to his people.
Right.
It's a reminder that we are loved, cherished, and chosen.
These chapters from Genesis offer us a glimpse into the very DNA of faith.
Mm-hmm.
They show us that faith isn't about blind belief or avoiding questions.
Right.
It's about trusting in a God who is bigger than our doubts,
Absolutely.
our fears, and our limited understanding.
It's about choosing to believe even when we don't have all the pieces.
Right.
It's about resting in the knowledge that God's ways are higher than our ways, and his plans are for our ultimate good.
That's a message that brings so much comfort and hope,
It does.
especially in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we're not alone in this journey.
Right.
We have a God who is faithful,
Yeah.
who keeps his promises, and who guides our steps even when we stumble.
So as we conclude this deep dive into Genesis 10:15,
Yeah.
let's carry these truths with us.
Okay.
Let's embrace our shared humanity,
Mm-hmm.
guard against pride and unchecked ambition,
Right.
and choose to walk by faith,
Yeah.
trusting in the God who holds our future in his hands.
And may these ancient stories continue to shape our understanding of who we are, where we come from, and the incredible purpose that God has for each of our lives.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery into these foundational chapters of Genesis.
It's been a pleasure.
Hope you've gained some fresh insights,
Yes.
renewed hope, and a deeper sense of connection to that grand narrative of faith that continues to unfold today.
It does.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.